Welcome back to the Pistons Jack YouTube channel. On today's episode, we are going to go through some updated information regarding the Pistons traded player exception, how they can use it, and more importantly, when I think they will use it. We'll also touch on some of Pistons general manager Trajan Langdon's latest comments on the offseason and a whole lot more. So let's get to it. All right, let's dive straight into it. I've spoken about this traded player exception a whole lot. In the past couple of days, we've spoken about it at length over the past week. Really, this will probably be the last time I talk about it for the foreseeable future. And it is because I got some more information. I've dug deeper into exactly how this exception can be used. What we already know and what we spoke about on yesterday's episode is that the value of the traded player exception is approximately $14.3 million. It has to be used within the calendar year. It cannot be used to aggregate salaries. So essentially, the Pistons cannot say, let's combine Marcus Sasser and the traded player exception to go get a player worth $17.1 million. That's what Sasser and the exception would be combined. You cannot do that. The exception, you can only add picks and the exception together to send out in a deal. So basically, that's kind of the thing I've been thinking about and speaking to people about to get further clarification on, is to how this will be used. Now, why I think this is more likely to be used than, say, what history says. For example, the Pistons, this is their 18th trade exception in history. They've only used 2 previously. We spoke about those on yesterday's show. The reason why I think there's a higher chance of this being used than Trajan Langdon actually executing a deal using it is because of the current climate of the salary cap and the tax implications and how that affects teams. So, for example, and this ties in with when I think it will be used. Right now, pretty much all 30 NBA teams either feel really good about their roster and making the play-in or playoffs, or they know they're a rebuilding roster and they know that they're gunning for high lottery odds. This time of the year, teams are feeling good. But this is where the value of the trade exception can help the Pistons. And when I think it will be used is closer to the trade deadline in the upcoming season. Whilst this exception can be used at any moment now for the upcoming year, I believe, I think it is likely it is something that Trajan looks to capitalize on, around mid-December when all players can start to be traded, all the way up until the trade deadline. And that's because typically around 30 games into the season, most NBA teams know where they're at. Most teams will know, our roster's not as good as we thought. We're not close to the play-in. Okay, we're definitely not going to be top 6 in our conference. That's when they start to look into moves they can make to potentially get out of the tax. There could be a team that's currently in the first or second apron that thinks, yeah, we're going to be top 4. We're pushing for conference finals. But they might get 35 games into the season and go, we've had this injury. This call's not working. We need to get under the tax and under the apron because our owner is not going to want to pay a huge tax bill for us to not even get close to where a team of this expense should be. So that's where I think the Pistons are going to really be able to capitalize. Right now, the only team I believe that has cap space per spot track in the upcoming season is the Jazz and Nets. The Nets currently have $8 million and the Jazz currently have just over $4 million. Apart from that, every other team is and some other teams do have trade exceptions. I believe the Hawks do, but every other team doesn't have cap space to work with for the current moment. Now, that probably could change. We'll see what happens as the offseason plays out, but this is where Pistons can benefit. They're a team that, as you can see, these players on the right that we spoke about yesterday, all of these players here, PJ Washington, Obi Toppin, Grant Williams, Jared Vanderbilt, all those guys there, they fit into the trade exception, and this means that the Pistons can really capitalize. Now, for example, let's use PJ Washington. I know everyone loves him. I spoke a little bit about it on yesterday's show. But just PJ Washington and his contract. Let's say the Mavs, I think they have very high aspirations for the upcoming season. Let's say, though, let's just say their season doesn't go as planned. Kyrie Irving is ruled out indefinitely. Let's say, for example, AD suffers some injuries and then Cooper Flag needs probably a bit more time than maybe they first thought, and it's just looking like they're not going to make a true playoff push. Maybe they go, okay, we're not going to pay the tax. Let's try to get off PJ Washington. And then the Pistons can swoop in and say, well, look, PJ's still a valuable player. We'll give you a future first and some seconds for him, and we'll take him into our exception. They don't need to take contracts back. Now, do the Mavs want to try to get a player back for PJ Washington? Probably. But Pistons picks could be enticing. Now, I mean, because I think PJ is worth something of value. I don't think the Pistons and the Mavs are just going to give him up, dump him to the Pistons. So, and plenty of other teams will be trying to get him. But that's one example. Another example here is, let's use Herb Jones, for example. Let's say the Pelicans, who I think are deep, they've got one of the most expensive rosters going into next season from what I can see, with Jordan Poole, Zion. Who else do they have? Trey Murphy's extension kicking in, I believe. They have some other... DeJounte Murray. They're a really expensive team. Now, they obviously, with the moves they've made, they think they're going to be a playoff team next season, and they very well may be. Let's say they're not. And let's say their ownership, who is not the ownership who likes to pay the tax, says, why are we paying all this money? They might go, Herb Jones, we value him, but he's also someone we could move. The Pistons could swoop in and offer some picks to get Herb Jones. Now, on the flip side as well, the Pistons might not need to give up picks. It's just Herb Jones and PJ Washington are two really good rotation players who could start in a playoff game, in my opinion. So that's why I think the Pistons will have to give up future picks. But on the flip side, there could be another team heap into the tax that is looking to shed salary come the jet deadline, like the Phoenix Suns. Now, look, Dylan Brooks, Grayson Allen, they're a bit expensive for this, but they might have some lesser players on their roster. Here's the thing, the trade exception can be used on multiple deals. So they might want to shed some salary around the $8 million mark if they have that. Pistons can take that in, and they still will have roughly $6 million on that trade exception. Now, that probably won't get used, but just for some clarification there. So these are just ways they can use it, and I think it's really going to be beneficial around the trade deadline, and I think that's when you can expect to see it being used. So, yeah, I understand for the most part fans disappointed we didn't get a player back. I kind of was too. I was kind of getting excited for Malik Monk, or if they could do something with John Collins. But it sounds like Trajan, and we're going to talk about his comments in just a moment, has a real investment in this young core and ensuring that even guys like Ron and Ausar can play some of those backup 4 minutes with Bobby Klintman, and just getting a real feel for this young core for the first 50 games of the season. So that's just kind of my final update on that. And just to confirm, the traded player exception is worth $14.354 million. It can't be a dollar over that, but any player below that on that salary for next season can be brought in. Keep that in mind. Now, we had some deals finalized today and announced officially with some contract details for who the Pistons have signed. I'll go through these very, very quickly, but it does tie into how the Pistons can continue to build out this roster over the offseason that remains. Duncan Robinson signed for 3 years, $48 million. We knew that. The bit we didn't know is that we knew year one was fully guaranteed at $16 million. Year two's only got $2 million guaranteed. So reportedly it was around $9 million initially. So that's all the way down to $2 million. Year three, non-guaranteed at all. So I think that's a really good deal. I'm a bit higher on Duncan Robinson. Let me know your thoughts. Karis LeVert, I don't think the team announced it, and I'm pretty sure they've used their mid-level to sign him. 2 years, $29 million. Chaz Lanier, as reported by Mike Scotto, has replied of Hoopsite, has signed for 4 years, $8.79 million. First 2 years, fully guaranteed. Year 3 and 4 could be with some triggers there. So similar to Bobby last year, who got a guaranteed contract in the second round at pick 37 too. Seems like there's a real investment in these second round picks that Trajan has taken. So we'll see what happens. I'm excited to watch both Bobby and Chaz at the Summer League next week. We're going to do a full breakdown on the Summer League tomorrow. Bit of a preview for you all for what to expect, who's on the team. And then finally, B-Ball Paul, it was Keith Smith of the front office show and over at Spot Track said that the Pistons did use bird rights or free agency rights to bring back Paul Reed on the 2 years, $11 million. So what that means is that the Pistons still have to add players. They've got 13 players on the roster for the upcoming season. They still need to add at least one, I'm pretty sure. Maybe you can add up to 15. Well, I think you can have up to 22 on your roster heading into training camp, but I think it has to be cut back to 15 before opening night, and I think you can go in with 14. So they need to at least add another player to the roster, and they can use the traded player exception, which we've spoken about, of $14.35 million. They can use a biannual exception of $5.1 million. That is still available to them. And they also have vet minimums, which will be a $2.3 million cap hit. So a lot of info there. I hope that has cleared things up with how the traded player exception can be used and what else the options the Pistons have to go at a backup four potentially, like Chris Boucher, Trey Lyles, Precious Achiuwa, spoken about them at length, or a backup point guard if that's what you see fit. But I hope that clears it up. I hope that helps everyone, and I probably won't bring this up again unless there's some rumors or updates with when this is going to be used, but I hope that helped a lot of you. Finally, Trajan spoke to the media very briefly today about some of his off-season acquisitions. He said in relation to the Caris LeVert and Duncan Robinson signing, it was a priority to get bigger on the perimeter, and he believes LeVert and Duncan bring that. Caris 6'6", Duncan Robinson 6'8". Definitely an upgrade in size from THJ and Malik Beasley. He also said he sees Caris LeVert defending 1 through 3, being a secondary creator, being a secondary initiator, filling some of the void that Dennis Schröder filled. Whilst he might not be the playmaker that Dennis is, I do think he's got the similar shot creation, and he's 6'6". So I think LeVert alongside Ivy, alongside Ausar with some more playmaking reps, whilst it might be a bit clunky to begin and not as smooth as a vet like Dennis Schröder is as a playmaker, I think you can fill that there if those guys warm into those roles. He had an update on Ausar Thompson, which has the fan base very excited. He said, you're going to see a very different Ausar Thompson. He's gotten bigger, so a lot of fans are tying that to the fact that Ausar could be playing some backup 4 minutes. It looks like that right now with how the roster's built. And I'm really excited to see a stronger Ausar with an improved handle, how much better he can get at penetrating into the paint, getting to the free throw line, and really creating catch-and-shoot looks when he collapses the defense. Because I think if he can improve that handle this season, I don't really mind if the jumper's still a season or two away. Because if he can improve that handle, that man is going to be very similar to his brother in the way they attack the paint, because the athleticism, in my opinion, is very similar. And I think what's holding Ausar back is probably just being the handle. A man has a bit more of a tighter handle, a bit more crafty. So I'm really excited for Ausar, and I think we all should be. Final thing from Trajan was on Jaden Ivey, and he said as such, Ivey's return gets lost in all of this. This is a quote. A lot of people ask how we're filling out the roles of exiting players. I think he's going to fill a lot of those point guard roles and playmaking roles, and Caris will fill in for Dennis as well. So as Trajan's kind of said the whole offseason before the draft, they're banking on internal improvement. And I don't think he's banking on it that there's no plan B if it doesn't work, but I think it's fair to go into this season for the trade deadline. Fingers crossed they can get 50 healthy games or relatively healthy games from the likes of Ausar, JD, Cade, Ivy, those four, but you throw in Ron there as well as the fifth, just to see what they have. Because I think Ivy missed so much of last season at crucial points. Ausar missed so much of his rookie season at crucial points. I know Trajan wasn't here, but that's still data that was missed to see how these guys work. So I think that's fine, and I think you can pivot at the trade deadline. You can make that bigger move. You've got the trade exception to maybe bring someone in to help. So I like what I'm hearing from Trajan. It backs up with his plan, and whilst you might not agree with his plan, I think it's very evident there's a plan. He sticks to his word. He doesn't reveal his entire plan to the media. He's never going to do that, but it sounds like there is a real plan in there, and I'm sure they have plan B and C if the young core doesn't take the steps we expect. But I think with what we've had in previous regimes, it's very nice to have a GM who has a plan, sticks to his word for the most part, and kind of delivers on that. So let's not forget this team tripled their win total last season. They're coming in off really good momentum. So that's going to do it for today's show, guys. Hope you're really enjoying the updates. I'm really enjoying all the increased subscribers and just the new audience coming in. I really appreciate it. I really enjoy talking hoops with you all in the comments. So thank you so much for all your support. It means a lot to me, and we're just getting started here. We've got so much content coming in the off-season, summer league, and obviously for a very exciting upcoming season. So thank you for sticking with me. And as always, go Pistons.